Okay, so now that you spend hours and hours on W3 Schools and know all about HTML, HTML5, CSS, CSS3, and a little bit about JavaScript, we're ready to start. So the first step in the design process is to understand the scope. So the scope of this project is that this is a small coffee shop for a client. There's no requirement for logins. In that sense, what that means is everybody who browses this web page is going to see the same thing. And there's no need for a database. So the dimensions of the site, the customer wants it to be shown on a monitored notebook display only. A common width is 800 or 1024 pixels or 1280 pixels wide. 1024 and 1280 pixels are very common. 800 is pretty much 800 pixels wide is really no longer, and the depth of the project is negotiable. Width is pretty much fixed. Owner is not the person that we're working for is really not concerned about how it looks on an iPad or iPhone or other cell phones and that kind of stuff. It's not that big of a website. And if you're wondering, well, don't you have to, if you want your website to be reformatted so that it looks good on an iTouch, as it does on a cell phone, as it does on a 27-inch iMac, don't you have to design 3 different websites? And the short answer is yes, you do. So whether the person wants to go into that kind of expense or not, I don't know. The owner wants to maintain the site themselves, but there's only a need to update this site several times a year. Okay, so we're not updating this website too much, and maybe the menu updates every now and then. Unlike a site such as eBay or Craigslist, updates by the second. Okay, Amazon updates like every time someone makes a purchase, right? So that's the scope of it. So now we understand the scope, we can choose the technology. Okay, we're going to use Dreamweaver. We're going to use Photoshop. We're going to use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. No need to get into fancy stuff like SQL and databases, PHP and ASP. We don't need that technology because again, we don't need a dynamic site. There's no logins. There's no need for database. What we need is basically a static site that looks kind of neat. Okay, we'll throw some bells and whistles like some JavaScript stuff and that sort of stuff. But we'll keep it pretty simple. All right, so the next part is, of course, in choosing a technology is going to be design. Okay, in that case, a lot of creativity and technical skills. So really, you're marrying your creativity, your vision, with the ability to make that vision appear on a computer screen. So you need to be a geek and you need to be an artist. Sketching. Get a pen, piece of paper, make a bunch of sketches, draw it out so you can see it. Get ideas, inspiration. Look at what other people are doing. Borrow some ideas. Create various designs and choose one. Okay, so this is all in the design phase. So what you're going to be doing is you'll be picking. You'll show your customer, your client, your friend, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different designs, and you'll work with that customer or client, and that person will say, well, I like this idea from this design and this idea from this one. Can we combine the two? Okay, so you never have one idea and say, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. You always have a multitude of ideas, and then so you present them to the customer, and the customer can pick and choose and give some feedback on which ones they like. Okay, so the next part here is you're going to you could download the file. If you're in my IT class, go to my website. If you're watching from YouTube and are not in my class, you should see a link in my YouTube description. Okay, when you download the file, what you want to do is you want to put it into a folder. Okay, so it's going to look like this. So in my personal space, I have a webs folder. Okay, I just call it webs, W-E-B-S. And here is my file that I downloaded. I'm going to right click it. I'm going to extract it. Alright. And then I'm going to rename this folder something a little more relevant than that. So I'm going to call it IT12. Okay, block, I don't know, H, Jao, or something like that. Jao. Alright. now when I open it, open in GPX, and here are the files I'm going to need to to get this project done. Okay. So again, the important thing to realize here is that everything is in the same folder. So this folder here, all my files that are related to this project is in my folder. I can move it around, I can email it, I can send it to someone else, I can give it to my customer, upload it to my hosting site, all in one go. Okay, and eventually that folder is going to look something like this. All right, with a bunch of subfolders and whatnot. Okay, so with the oh, one other thing I should mention here is within this folder from now on, never ever spaces in file names or anything like that. No punctuation in file names, no commas, no dashes, no spaces. Okay, the only punctuation you're allowed to use in a file name is an underscore. Okay, or and that applies to folder names. You don't really care what you do with your Word documents and your PowerPoint, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to programming and web design, never spaces, never punctuation, except for an underscore. Okay, so next lesson we're going to dive into getting the Photoshop stuff started. Thanks.